It's long since been said that Vince McMahon and the Mr. McMahon character closely resemble one another, and these days truer words have never been spoken.
I am no pervert.
WWE's once revered but now disgraced former chairman has done some heinous things both on the show and outside the ring.
Damn it, bark like a dog!
But today we want to examine the character that was, while occasionally dipping into the real-life drama.
These things don't happen? They haven't happened?
You want to let me finish here for a second, pal? Coach, shut your mouth and let me answer the question, all right? I'll be happy to answer.
More specifically, we want to cover all the wild things Vince has said on screen over the years.
If you're not Caucasian, then leave. Mark Henry.
From the out-of-pocket McManisms and one-liners,
You and God versus me, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and the product of my semen, my son Shane.
to his recurring catchphrases,
You bleeding hunk of adipose tissue, you're fired.
all the way to his wild infatuation with Shawn Michaels.
I actually believe, in all honesty, that I think there was a love affair going on between Shawn and Vince.
We'll also delve into the different eras of his character arc,
What up, G? Peace out, my brothers.
and see just how he became one of wrestling's most despised villains.
I enjoy destroying lives. It turns me on.
For this video, we'll cover the entire scope when it comes to the most outrageous comments made by Mr. McMahon on WWE TV.
When I die, I want to go straight to hell.
In terms of his on-screen role, Vince started out in WWF as an announcer, but he wasn't a very good one. He was known for his bursts of energy and high-pitched voice. For a while he was kind of just there, not really adding much to the shows he was on. It wasn't until Raw began airing in 1993 that the chairman really started to ham it up. The trademark Welcome to Monday Night Raw was essentially the opening soundtrack to so many of those original Raw episodes in the 90s.
Everyone to Monday Night Raw! Welcome to Monday Night Raw! All kinds of World Wrestling Federation action coming at you on Monday Night Raw! Dig it!
McMahon always had his favorite guys. You could tell what stars he liked best based on who was being pushed the strongest on television, but also on the headset, Vince couldn't hide the love for those he believed in most. McMahon is remembered for his very close relationship with Shawn Michaels. Vince would go crazy over Michaels on commentary, to ridiculous levels at times.
And yeah, gonna put it in charge! Come on, Rob! Come on! Yes! Oh my goodness! Yes! 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 Yes!
Vince set Shawn away with a lot behind the scenes. Meanwhile, on screen, the Heartbreak Kid could do no wrong in the eyes of the chairman.
But you want to talk extraordinary, it won't get any more extraordinary than that man right there. Shawn Michaels! The most charismatic WWF superstar in the world today!
All of this has led to some names questioning just how close was the relationship between Vinnie Mac and the Showstopper. The two men were major real-life and on-screen rivals of Bret the Hitman Hart. While speaking at an Inside the Ropes live show in 2025, Bret said what many were perhaps thinking when it came to Vince and Shawn's close-knit bond.
I actually believe, in all honesty, that I think there was a love affair going on between Shawn and Vince. I think there's a lot more going on there than people think. Boy toy and all that kind of stuff. You know, I just think that that Vince was going to put the belt on Shawn because he was in love with him. And
As a commentator, McMahon was not your typical wrestling play-by-play announcer. He rarely called moves and would simply yell out, "What a maneuver."
Off the rope. Oh, what a maneuver! The rope to Beverly and what a maneuver! Ooh, what a maneuver!
This line epitomized Vince's announcing philosophy. It wasn't about calling wrestling holds and scientifically breaking down the mechanics of the action. It was all hyperbole, so if you just tuned in and heard Vince shouting, you might keep watching to see what all the fuss was about. The chairman wanted the commentators to tell stories, so when McMahon was behind the desk and a big move was just hit, it didn't matter what it was called. What a maneuver was one size fits all.
Oh, no! What a maneuver!
Vincent K.
Yeah, the cheer for Vince, yeah! What a maneuver! What a maneuver!
Another way McMahon showcased his sports entertainment style of announcing was through his signature crackling, shouty voice, as we mentioned. This was often accompanied by yet another one-size-fits-all catchphrase, unbelievable. At the time, this was WWF's slogan plastered all over advertisements, so Vince made sure to run the phrase into the ground, saying it over and over again on every show.
Unbelievable! Unbelievable! It's over.
You suck, Philly. You always have, and you always will.
Unbelievable! Tremendous. Unbelievable. Tremendous.
Vince had a mix of different ways he'd deliver the unbelievable line, including getting all high-pitched, sounding like a plane was taking off. This helium-filled, crackly voice was the opposite of the demonic, devilish growl McMahon would later adopt. In fact, this tone would be much more true to his real-life style compared to the over-the-top entertainment voice. Vince's furious devil temper was known about for years behind the scenes, but we finally got to see it on WWF programming when he became Mr. McMahon. But more on that later. Vince's satanic fury saw him frequently lash out. He was the evil dictator who epitomized how power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Hate oozed from the pores that accompanied his enraged red face. There's a reason McMahon had often been referred to as Satan himself, and one of the first insults that usually came out of his mouth was calling someone an SOB.
You go to jail, you son of a bitch!
Man, we have a problem, us. Have a problem.
You stay here with Stephanie! You take me to him! Take me to the son of a bitch! Get in the car, get me out of here! This place stinks! I can't breathe the same air! That son of a bitch stinks!
Vince had that signature Lucifer-like delivery where anytime he used it, it made every line he hit that bit harder, and son of a bitch was one of his most famous.
Listen up, you son of a bitch! Whoa! Oh my God! I apologize, you son of a bitch!
But when it comes to the best examples of Vince's fiery on-screen anger, then look no further than his iconic "Shut up" catchphrase.
Excited, or at least you think you are. Shut up, I'm talking! There you go! The first individual, shut up! Whoa! There you go!
Given how detestable he became as a villain, the fans had every reason to boo Vince. That meant during his promos, McMahon had to tell them to put a sock in it. This would only get Vince more heel heat, so it became one of his go-to lines he'd say to the crowd and talent.
Shut up! Yes or no? Shut up! I'll tell you to your face!
You will be back here on Monday nights in no time at all.
Anonymous Raw General Manager, Michael Cole, shut up!
Few actions on television displayed Vince's tyranny more than when he would fire people, queuing up his trademark "You're fired" catchphrase.
You're fired! All right! You're fired! You're fired! You're fired!
This is where McMahon got real close into the mic, yelling at the top of his lungs with that demonic style delivery.
You bleeding hunk of adipose tissue! You're fired! You're fired! Oh my! You're fired! Oh my God, it's Father's Day, he's got a family!
Wrestlers would have been walking on eggshells, fearful they'd hear those venomous two words.
Donald Trump, you're fired! You're fired! You're fired! Whoa! You're fired! You're fired! What?
Acts like these are why Vince McMahon was loved by some, but hated by most. And perhaps no one despised him more at one point than Bret Hart. In November 1997, WWF champion Bret Hart was unwilling to drop the title to arch nemesis Shawn Michaels, since Michaels had previously said he wouldn't do the same for Bret. McMahon believed Bret was the one being unreasonable, so Vince instead agreed to screw Bret out of the title. The boss did this by calling for the belt at the Survivor Series event in Montreal, Canada, when Michaels had Bret in the sharpshooter, despite Hart never submitting. The Hitman just so happened to be leaving for rival promotion WCW the next month, hence why McMahon agreed to go through with what would become known as the Montreal Screwjob. Suddenly, wrestling had become as real as could possibly be. A week after Survivor Series, Vince was interviewed on Raw where he doubled down on the Screwjob, stating he was left with no choice but to do what he did, thus pinning the blame fully on the Hitman, with the famous line, "Bret screwed Bret."
Bret screwed Bret. I have no sympathy whatsoever
for Bret.
The implications of this interview were massive. McMahon had just made himself the biggest heel in the business. Sure, the WWF had lost arguably their biggest star, but in the process, they had gained perhaps their greatest villain, as the McMahon character was born. It was just 1 month later that Vince would introduce the Attitude Era, a move to an edgier, more risque product that ultimately defeated WCW once and for all, with McMahon's feud versus Stone Cold Steve Austin being one of the key ingredients that made fans switch over to Raw, and so continued Vince's now recurring trope of constantly trying to screw over popular stars on the show. In order to keep screwing his rivals, McMahon had to enlist the help of numerous allies, which usually consisted of other wrestlers.
Vince McMahon didn't screw the people tonight. The people screwed the people. Stone Cold screwed Stone Cold.
The bad guy authority figure angle worked for a while in wrestling, but few did it as well as Vince.
You're screwed. And you know why? Because you deserve to be screwed. You deserve to be screwed.
However, by his 10th year of playing this role, McMahon began to get a little funky, to say the least. It all started when he got his head shaved by business mogul Donald Trump in the Battle of the Billionaires match at WrestleMania 23. A bold Vince came out of the 2007 WrestleMania seeking revenge on Bobby Lashley, who at Mania represented Trump to defeat the chairman's representative Umaga. McMahon bit back by ensuring he defeated Lashley for the ECW championship in a 3-on-1 handicap match. From there, Durag Vince was born. This was a brief but eccentric version of McMahon that showed just how much he had lost the plot and went mad with power. Not only was he holding his third brand's world title, but Vince was also saying things and speaking in a way he'd never done before.
What's up, Holmes? What up, G?
Come on. Yeah, you got the durag. I love the walk. I don't know, this is like a new thing you got going on. I kind of dig that.
That's tremendous. Excuse me while I whip this out.
Skip. Sweet.
What is that? That is fly, baby. That's fly right there. Peace out, my brothers.
The storyline eventually saw McMahon begin to act even crazier before he got blown up in a limousine, although the culprit or the reason behind it was never revealed due to the real-life Benoit family tragedy. This forced the angle to get scrapped. However, it's been said that Vince's brother Roderick was supposed to be involved in the story somehow, but another McMahon family member debuting on the show was nothing new, since Vince had previously introduced his son, wife, and daughter as on-screen characters. In fact, at one point they were considered the most dysfunctional family on television. Once they all began appearing on the show, it was rare to see the McMahon family all on the same page as a collective unit. The infighting saw them all over the product at different points in time. There were a host of different soap opera-like feuds and storylines involving the family. However, the key point of contention was almost always because of something Vince did. His loved ones were either trying to fix a mess he started or get revenge on him for wronging them. An example is where he coerced the kidnapping of his own daughter just to get at his rival Stone Cold.
It's me, Austin!
Oh, son of a bitch. What?
It's me, Austin!
Triple H was initially Vince's unwanted son-in-law after Stephanie McMahon got with the game. In some ways, she did this to get back at her dad for the whole kidnapping charade. The chairman was none too pleased as he accused Hunter of forcibly violating his daughter.
Come on out! Come on out, you rapist!
The entire family were at odds before WrestleMania 2000, as they each accompanied one of the 4 wrestlers in the show's main event. By the end of the night, 3 out of the 4 McMahons had joined forces. However, in order to get back in Linda's good books, Vince had to take the summer off so he could make love with her.
If you want another baby, I'm your genetic jackhammer. Daddy's coming home!
During the build for WrestleMania 17 in 2001, the family were at odds once more.
I see 2 spoiled, ungrateful little rich bitches. That's what I say.
Vince set his romantic sights on the younger Trish Stratus, much to the dismay of his wife and children.
I want a divorce.
What? Oh my God!
I said I want a divorce. Tell your mother that chances are the new Mrs. McMahon is going to be about your age.
This storyline also saw the chairman disown Shane as his son in the lead-up to their one-on-one match at Mania.
I will never ever forgive your mother for giving birth to you. God's sakes.
2 years later at No Mercy 03, Vince wrestled a singles match against Stephanie, where Linda also got involved. By this point, McMahon had another mistress in Sable, while again denouncing his own children emotionally, mentally, and physically.
I will strike down the face of defiance.
The final on-screen McMahon family feud saw Shane return to WWE in 2016 after 6 years away. Here, Shane O'Mac revealed the beatings his dad gave him when he was younger. Vince then promised to give him one more in the run-up to Shane's match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania 32.
Good, because I have one last opportunity to have a fucking beating, okay? Beating.
Swearing on his own show when no one else was allowed to during the PG era was classic Vince. It was his company, so he could say whatever he wanted. This type of attitude from the chairman was something we witnessed all too often back in the day, as Vince has certainly given us his fair share of McManisms. Vince initially coined McManism as a term for his own religion during the feud with Shawn Michaels and God in 2006. Shawn was now a born-again Christian, meaning Vince didn't like him anymore.
I've been practicing this religion for some 40 years, and the name of it is McMahonism.
Blessed be the name of Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
What the hell was that?
Aside from the religious parody angle, over the years Vince has given us plenty of funny and entertaining one-liners that could be classed as McManisms.
McMahon 316 says, I've got the brass to fire your ass. If you think Vince McMahon can beat Stone Cold Steve Austin's ass, give me a hell yeah! Hacksaw Jim Duggan is old enough to be my father. Hell, I'm not in Texas. I'm in Afghanistan. There's a member of the Taliban. Keep it up, I'm a nigga. If you're not Caucasian, then leave. Mark Henry.
The racial overtones, excuse me? You may not realize this, but you're an African American.
I can even make my ass do tricks. Watch this. What about the money?
Oh, the money!
What about the money?
That's what it's all about.
It's all about the money. It's all about the money. You and God versus me, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and the product of my semen, my son Shane.
Damn it, you people think this is funny!
As the arrogant billionaire, he commanded any arena or room he entered, walking around like he quite literally owned the place, and saying as much on the mic. That meant bigging himself up, burying the audience, and threatening his talents' livelihoods.
I've got balls the size of grapefruits. You're gonna be picking the seeds out of your teeth. You may have survived cancer. You won't survive me.
Terrorists are gonna burn down the Undertaker's house.
His children are gonna be kidnapped. His wife, she's gonna be raped.
I'll make hell look like Sunday school.
In this business, it's about one thing. It's about what I want. Because you have to grab your competition by the throat, and you've got to squeeze the life out of your competition. And I kicked her ass because of ruthless aggression. I hate you. And all the rest of you people can go straight to hell. See, I don't ask my audience what they want. I tell them what they want, and then they like it. I don't listen to anybody except me. I don't give a damn what you people want. That's the problem!
On top of the McManisms, Vince's promos are renowned for his subhuman temper and evilness, while also portraying his egotistical, maniacal, and autocratic persona.
I don't do what I do for the money, Rick. I do what I do for ego. What's the sense of having power if you can't abuse it every now and then? You know what I'm saying? Anybody's gonna kill my creation, I'm gonna do it. I've got an insatiable appetite for life, and I want more.
When it all came down to it, at his stripped-back psychological core, Vincent Kennedy McMahon is, was, and will forever be a corrupt, manipulative, and evil human being.
With the most ruthless two-legged SOB in the history of this planet, me. Damn it, Steve, come on! Open him up! Open him up!
I enjoy firing people. I especially enjoy firing people just for the holidays. I enjoy destroying lives. It turns me on.
Life sucks, and then you die.
He has no chance in heaven, so he's guaranteed to burn in hell. A fact of life that Vince himself has even admitted to on screen.
When I die, I I want to go straight to hell.
Some might say hell is keeping itself extra warm for Vince's impending arrival, as the real-life McMahon will forever have an asterisk next to his name for his crimes against women. This all became public knowledge in 2022, all while Vince the character had been doing similar things on screen for years. Previously, Vince made it no secret how much he loved women in real life.
Always been attracted to women, love women.
Add to this the fact that he can book talent whatever way he pleases.
This McMahon pays my checks.
And it's no surprise how often Vinnie Mac has made out with many of the WWE's most beautiful females.
I am no pervert.
Trish Stratus was one of the first McMahon kisses on the show. Their controversial segments landed the company in hot water from the media and parents' council.
Damn it, bark like a dog. Pick it up now.
What kind of man is this?
He's the hero.
These things don't happen. They haven't happened. You want to let me finish here for a second, pal? Coach, shut your mouth and let me answer the question, all right? I'll be happy to answer.
Vince's retort was that his character always got his comeuppance in the end, but in order to get there, he regularly went out on a limb.
Heal this woman's breast. Heal this woman's voluptuous belly.
It is true that McMahon was always willing to be humiliated for the sake of interesting television, even if it meant literally getting caught with his pants down, though not before he got it on with another one of the female wrestlers.
You're right at the top of Mr. Mac Daddy.
I got a big surprise for you, Tori.
Basically, in order for the revenge to be sweet, Vince had to perform reprehensible and deplorable acts.
If you were such a big man, you wouldn't have to pay that slut Sable to sleep with you.
Vince's real-life misappropriations with women was ultimately his downfall. He got away with it in the early 90s, but he was not bulletproof. His on-screen womanizing didn't age well to begin with, but looking back now, it's much worse. McMahon loved telling people you're fired, without ever believing he'd hear the words you're retired, or better yet, you're cancelled. Vince McMahon may never truly get his flowers as long as he lives, and perhaps it's just as well. The man has been loved by some and hated by many. Meanwhile, the character has been despised by just about everyone. The most successful characters in wrestling are typically dialed up extensions of the real-life person, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a character more one and the same as their true self than Vince. It didn't start that way, but it became that. From the abused kid who grew up in a trailer park wanting revenge on the world, to the millionaire that indeed became a billionaire. But even then, it was never enough. He's been called a genius, he's been called evil, but we'll call him the greatest heel ever seen in wrestling. In many ways because that hate was absolutely real. Vince McMahon's story is nearing its conclusion, but the possibility of there being a happy ending is indeed no chance in hell. Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our similar video on why WWE will never have another Brock Lesnar. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.